on Cronkite News. The dust is settling after the first U.S. airstrike against ISIS, what the president and the protesters are saying about the efforts. And in honor of National Registration Day, we take a look at how independent voters can impact this year's election. Plus, a new installment of Access Across Arizona. We continue our statewide coverage live from Cochise County. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Hannah Lawrence. President Obama addressed the latest strategy against ISIS today. He spoke for the first time after the U.S. military executed airstrikes against ISIS. He says the U.S. partnered with Arab allies, making it clear this isn't just America's fight. There will be more challenges in the fight against the Islamic State, but the president says the U.S. will do whatever it takes to face them.
Once again, it must be clear to anyone who would plot against America and try to do Americans harm that we will not tolerate safe havens for terrorists who threaten our people.
Our Washington Bureau reporter Brittany Bade was at the White House today as anti-war protesters tried to air their complaints to the president. Brittany?
Hannah, hello. Well, people from all over the United States came to the White House today to protest the airstrikes going on in the Islamic State. Now, the people that were at the White House are all hoping for a peaceful resolution in the Middle East, and they want President Obama to know that they do not like his violent airstrikes.
Dropping bombs on helpless people, and you ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
Pennsylvania Avenue, usually buzzing with tourists, looked different today.
We ain't gonna pay for no more.
Well, we're here today because the U.S. just started bombing Syria, and we think that that's just another escalation of endless war in the Middle East.
The protesters here sent a letter to the White House a month ago asking for a meeting with President Obama.
We've got no response, and so that's why we're here today, to try to get this meeting, because these issues are crucial.
This is a letter that the protesters wanted to hand-deliver to President Obama, but when they were not allowed inside, they improvised.
Help me, please! Why?
Some protesters laid at the front gates of the White House or in the streets, while others sang a song. But blocking the White House gates is against the law. And when these protesters refused to move, the Capitol Police stepped in to end the protest.
We do not want decades of war. We don't want years of war. We don't want any war.
4 people were arrested today, but according to other protesters, they're just the first of many, and that's because more than 250 other protests that are similar to what we saw here today are planned throughout the United States during the rest of the week, and that includes spots in Scottsdale and in the Tucson areas. But details for those are not yet available. Live in Washington, D.C., Brittany Bade, Cronkite News.
20 families said goodbye today to members of the Arizona National Guard headed to Guantanamo Bay. Reporter Darby Fitzgerald was at the send-off ceremony and spoke with some of the soldiers about their deployment.
What so proudly we hailed.
Families and friends gathered today to send off these 20 Army National Guard soldiers.
We're not going to have bullets flying at us like we would in Afghanistan or Iraq, and we're all grateful for that, and I know our families are as well.
The unit is deploying to Guantanamo Bay. Their job there is to ensure transparency, supporting Operation Enduring Freedom. These men and women will be away from home for almost a year.
We'll stay in touch. The Army's really good about making sure we can keep talking to our families while we're away.
But it's never easy to leave, especially for Sergeant Reba Benali and her daughter, who has special needs.
What's your name?
My name is Julianne.
Julianne will be staying with some of Sergeant Benali's friends.
This was a decision, something that I've always wanted to do, and I think just for being a mother of a special needs child, it's difficult to go for things that you've wanted to go for. But I think we're making the right decision.
And for the other soldiers, they're looking forward to the experience.
This is a new job for me, and it is for a lot of other people. They brought a lot of new people into the unit for this deployment, and so we all went through a long school, and that was an accomplishment.
In Phoenix, Darby Fitzgerald, Cronkite News.
unit leaves for Fort Dix, New Jersey on the 26th of this month for more training, and then they'll travel to Cuba in October. Today on National Voter Registration Day, Americans around the nation geared up to register to vote. Secretary of State hopeful Terry Goddard took to Arizona State University downtown campus to encourage students to register. We caught up with him to ask about a Republican proposal to close Arizona's primaries. That would allow only registered Republicans to vote the GOP ballot. Democrat Goddard says you can't have a private election.
We need to make sure, and here's the big part, that people who've registered independent, who is the largest group of voters in Arizona, have a chance to vote either way. They can choose a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian primary. We need to protect that right.
With independent voters becoming the largest voting bloc in the state, Cronkite News reporter Megan Guthrie shows us how they used their power at the polls during the primary and how they're looking ahead to November.
It's easy to say what she is not.
I'm Ariel Moats. I'm not left or right or blue or red or D or R.
But politically, where does Moats stand? Since 2008, the paralegal and former registered Democrat switched her political party affiliation and is now part of Arizona's largest registered voting bloc.
I'm an independent.
Executive Director of the Arizona Democratic Party, DJ Quinlan, says that this increase has not changed the way the Democratic Party treats independents.
We don't really treat them differently. We just like to educate them about what our party stands for, what issues we care about, and what the process of voting is. Because we believe at the end of the day, even if they're registering as independents, the more that turn out and vote, the more that the Democrats will be successful.
Currently, voters without a designated party, also known as independents, climbed to more than 1.15 million, with 944,000 registered Democrats and nearly 1.12 million Republicans. Why this change?
There's only one of two reasons to leave the party. Either you think it's too extreme or you don't think it's extreme enough.
Many registered independents showed little power at this year's primary, with only 11.8% voting.
This notion of people going to registered independents and failing to vote means they've just completely given up.
So, will more independents vote in the general election? Moats says yes.
You'll be able to actually see their voices and they'll become more obvious that they exist here in Arizona. It won't take a news report to do it. It's going to be much more obvious.
Time will tell as November 4th approaches. In Phoenix, Megan Guthrie, Cronkite News.
As the general election is fast approaching, remember your deadline to register to vote is exactly 2 weeks away. Early voting begins October 9th. We turn to Jacqueline Polito with what's next on Cronkite News.
Just like milk, car seats have an expiration date. Up next, what you need to know to keep your child safe as you drive around town. And we travel to Cochise County to learn about a new communication system for seniors. It starts with a simple question: are you okay? Welcome back. It's now time for another story from our Access Across Arizona initiative, our Cronkite News project to uncover news stories from all corners of our state. As Arizona's senior population continues to age, safety of the elderly has become a growing concern, especially in rural communities. Cronkite News reporter Annalise Ortiz traveled to Cochise County to talk about measures the sheriff's office is taking to keep the elderly and other citizens safe.
Yes, I'm here in Sierra Vista, Arizona. Now, even in larger rural areas like Sierra Vista or Bisbee, the Cochise County seat, some homes can be miles apart, and that becomes an issue for the elderly or disabled who don't have a neighbor nearby to just knock on the door and ask if they're okay. Now, that's one of the reasons why the Cochise County Sheriff's Office decided to jumpstart a program that helps take the worry out of being alone.
County Sheriff's Office checking on you.
Every morning, Sheila Gore receives the call.
Please enjoy your day and be safe.
When the phone rings at 9 o'clock, I know it's time to get up.
It's part of a program called Are You Okay? A free service that gives the disabled, elderly, or mentally incapacitated of Cochise County peace of mind by having an automated service check on them regularly.
All my family is out of this area. They're all up around Phoenix. So if I do need help, I have it.
Now, this is the computer from which the Are You Okay messages are sent out. And if nobody answers that message, members of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office are on hand to pick up the phone and give them or their emergency contacts a call. And if no one answers, a sheriff's deputy is sent to her door.
We are acting as their lifeline.
The sheriff's office says this program is crucial for some cities in Cochise.
We're talking rural. We have neighbors who can be a mile from each other, 2 miles from each other, 4 miles from each other. And these people sometimes don't have anyone to help take care of them.
And many of those citizens, like Sheila, are seniors. The elderly population of Cochise County is nearly 4% higher than the statewide average, according to the U.S. Census.
This helps us help them.
And by using willing neighbors and relatives as volunteers, that in turn reduces the workload on 84 sworn officers who are responsible for protecting a county that spans more than 62,000 square miles.
It does take us about an hour to get from one point to the other.
All right, and your fruit's just right. But the distance between cities doesn't stop law enforcement from maintaining personal relationships with citizens. The sheriff's office says in the 4 years the program has been in effect, it's helped build a stronger sense of community.
You look really good. Thank you. And there's things that maybe we have as a more rural county than you have in a metropolitan area such as Phoenix. There's been situations where one woman in particular, calls just to say, how are you? Thank you so much for having us on the having me on the program.
A relationship Sheila is grateful for.
The phone call is so important.
Every day.
The sheriff's department's the closest, I as well say, relative that I have.
Now, I'm here with Sheriff Daniels, who oversees this program as Sheriff of Cochise County. Now, what can you tell us about the sense of trust that's kind of built between law enforcement and citizens thanks to this program?
Well, I'm proud to say that Cochise County Sheriff's Office has always held high standards when it comes to the transparency and the blend and interaction that we have between our citizens and our law enforcement communities, to include the Sheriff's Office here. We invested the time, which equals the trust, and so we're very proud of that.
That's great. And now, what is the next step for a program like Are You Okay?
The next step is to get the program out there where people are aware of it. It's a program that's designed to help those in need and help you prevent somebody from perishing. So this program where people check on them, we check on them, it's just a great thing for those that just need that extra help.
And would you say just between community members that it kind of builds up, something stronger?
The best marketing of anything is through people. And people is what we use, and we use our social media also through our community outreach unit and let the people know that we have this program and we're there to support them.
It's great. Well, it really is a special program you have here. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. Live in Cochise County, I'm Annalise Ortiz, Cronkite News.
Is your child's car seat installed correctly? It could determine whether he or she survives a crash. Law enforcement agencies throughout the state just participated in events to help make sure your car seat will protect your child.
I found out one of my car seats was expiring, so they're replacing it, and I know that she's going to be safe.
Cynthia Pierce is back in class. She's just one of many parents taking the time to study up on how to use her car seats correctly.
You always wear your seatbelt? Yes. Because your kid's going to do what you do.
Surprise Fire Department volunteer Art Wood says children don't know right from wrong when it comes to being secured in their car seats. So it's up to you to get it right.
There are many reasons why children die and get injured in car accidents each year, but one of the biggest reasons is that the child isn't strapped into their car seat correctly.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, other reasons include failure to read the car and car seat manuals.
The other thing is the car manual itself. It tells you how your car is built.
Often parents don't want to make their child feel uncomfortable, and a loose car seat is among the most common mistakes. Lessons that parents are taking to heart. Something so simple that can save a child's life.
What's coming up on Cronkite News? First, the Super Bowl and then the College Football Playoff Championship. But could the Final Four also be making its way to the Valley?
Blocked off to the public. Signs like these have been stopping drivers from going on Highway 89 for more than a year and a half. But there is progress. Coming up, we take a behind-the-scenes look.
Reaching Arizona's communities uncovered by mainstream media. Discovering the untold stories of our state's women, men, children, and change makers.
We're taking a look at what's making news across Arizona.
This is the Cronkite News Initiative, Access Across Arizona. Live coverage of topics that matter and people who make a difference. Delivered to the homes of Arizona PBS viewers like you. Cronkite News Access Across Arizona is made possible by Women and Philanthropy.
The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself.
Let's turn the page.
I believe that this nation should commit itself.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
You can almost divide American history before Robinson and after Robinson.
Seeing is believing.
We broke records. We broke barriers.
This is incredible.
Suddenly the big picture makes more sense.
We have unprecedented access.
Now I can see my ancestors. Now I'm looking into their world. Now I can see where they walked.
Phoenix sports fans, get ready. 2 NCAA Final Four committee members came to the Valley today on an official visit. They are looking at the University of Phoenix Stadium as the potential host site for the 2017, 2019, or 2020 Final Four tournament. Phoenix is bidding against Atlanta, Dallas, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, New Orleans, San Antonio, and St. Louis. If Phoenix is selected as the host city, this will be the first time since 1995 that a Western city has hosted the tournament.
I think that's a powerful statement for Phoenix in this whole process.
We're looking for perfection, and we know we'll never achieve that, but we strive for that, and I think that's part of the process. And as you go through that, what you're looking for is an experience for student athletes, for fans that assemble from not only the teams that are participating, but those that love the game of college basketball.
The potential economic impact for the Phoenix area is huge. In 2012, when the Final Four was in New Orleans, $135 million were brought into the economy. Atlanta brought in $70 million in 2013, and the Arlington, Texas Final Four numbers are not final, but the projected number was $276 million. With the Super Bowl in 2015, the College Football Championship in 2016, the Valley is becoming a very popular spot for sporting events. Football practices at ASU are filled with drills that prepare players for the impacts of the game. Players gear up in pads and helmets to stay safe as they practice taking hits. But even a helmet can't prevent a concussion from happening. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there are about 1.6 to 3.8 million sports-related concussions a year. The problem for Division I schools like ASU? Trying to detect when their players get concussed during the heat of a game. The school has started using the new iPhone app, Sway Balance, to help make concussion detection faster and easier.
A lot of the problems with some of the concussion testing is that it's expensive and it takes manpower and it's time consuming. So whether you're on the field and, say a star player gets injured, they obviously want to know quickly whether or not he can go back in.
The iPhone app checks the player's inner ear balance. To test that, the player crosses his arms holding the phone. It compares the first balance test taken before the possible injury with one taken right after the hit. Let's bring it back to Hannah Lawrence for more when Cronkite News returns.
Phoenix is one step closer to expanding public transit to the underserved areas of the valley.
Who were the people that got us from there?
A world without glass, clean drinking water, time, or light.
To here.
These were hobbyists, garage inventors, and obsessive tinkerers. These are people who actually made the modern world, who set off an amazing chain reaction of ideas.
It's the story of How We Got to Now with Stephen Johnson, coming in October, only on PBS.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. The first day of fall was a sunny affair with no tropical storms in sight. With more on the weather, here's Brooke Wazowitz. Brooke, for this time of the year, it's kind of warm out there, isn't it?
Yes, today was really warm, especially for the very first day of fall. We didn't have any clouds today, so it's very nice. Right now we're at 101 degrees. It's nice and sunny. It's only 15% humidity. It's a nice dry heat for now. So if you have a chance to grab an early evening walk before it gets too dark, I'd highly recommend it. Let's take a look at the rest of the region for now. We have 99 degrees in Goodyear, Mesa, and in Casa Grande, and we're a little bit warmer compared to the rest of the state. Up north, we have the Grand Canyon at 78, 89 at Winslow, and 98 in Tucson. Yuma's all the way at 104 degrees, a few degrees warmer than us. Let's look at the lows for tonight. It's a little bit chilly in the Grand Canyon at 45 degrees, 50 degrees in Flagstaff, and it's going to be a cool 80 degrees in Phoenix. If you guys have a chance to go hike a mountain, it'll be a beautiful night because this weather will not last. This will take us into our five-day forecast for the rest of the week. We'll be in the lower triple digits all the way up until Saturday, where we'll have a 30% chance of rain. So don't forget your umbrella, just in case. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Brooke Wazowitz.
Phoenix's light rail will soon expand again. The U.S. Department of Transportation awarded the city of Phoenix a federal grant to help pay for planning and improvements. As Katrina Arroyos reports, the new portion will connect the South Central corridor of Phoenix.
I just believe from the bottom of my heart, we cannot create the city that we all want, educationally, arts and culture, economically, unless we have a great transportation system.
And the transportation system is getting a big boost.
Says we're doing everything we can to work with Congress, the Obama administration, and others to make sure that we as a country invest in our infrastructure.
And today, Department of Transportation Deputy Secretary Victor Mendez announced a $1.6 million federal grant to expand the light rail. That's roughly half of the cost of the project. The lines will be extended to South Mountain Village, possibly along Central Avenue as far south as Baseline. The mayor says that it will serve a community that relies on public transportation.
South Mountain Village has the highest transit ridership in the entire city. And when we originally did the light rail line, we should have included South Mountain Village.
Riders seem to be in favor of expansion. One commuter we talked to even compared the light rail to New York's subway system.
And traveling on light rail is fun. I mean, you get to sit in a nice, comfortable, air-conditioned car. You get to see the city go by. You get to see the mountains and beautiful sunshine. So I think the community should be very supportive of it.
The city of Phoenix is expecting the expansion to South Mountain Village to take around 8 to 10 years to complete. In Phoenix, Katrina Arroyos, Cronkite News.
It's been a headache for drivers for more than a year and a half. Highway 89, a big tourism hub, shut down. And while many people are wondering why it took so long to see any progress, Megan Thompson reports ADOT says there's been a ton of work behind the scenes.
It's the untraveled road. No tourists, no commuters. No one has seen this stretch of road in a long time.
It was gravity. You know, gravity's been pulling on this mountainside for eons, and just happened to be time for gravity to win.
And gravity buckled more than 150 feet of US 89, causing a landslide that ripped the roadway up in 6-foot-high sections. Since that day back on February 20th of last year, the highway has been closed.
We had to make sure that we could restore mobility to the area.
Justin Krugel with ADOT says the project isn't just getting started with the construction, but has been in the works since day one.
We had to do a geological investigation where we had to monitor the stability of the mountainside.
They found out that the road went through an ancient landslide area. When it collapsed last February, ADOT crew's first priority was building Highway 89T, an alternate route for drivers and emergency crews. Now they're rebuilding the main 89A.
Now this hillside behind me is actually being moved over to make way for a roadway. The $25 million project has a rock buttress underneath it, sort of like a doorstop. Hopefully this will stop the road from buckling again.
But it's not the road being closed that's the big issue for the people who live around here. Local businesses say it's the lack of signs that's creating frustration for customers, making them think there's no alternate route.
We get a lot of phone calls stating that they do need to cancel because of the road closure, but we just reassure them that there's a different route that they need to take.
But businesses still staying strong despite that closure. And ADOT says they want to have this road open before summer travel season picks up again. In Page, Megan Thompson, Cronkite News.
We did ask ADOT representatives about the lack of signs, and they disagree with the business owners' complaints. ADOT says that it has installed signs and removed 200 signs since the initial road closure. And they point out that they did add 3 more directional signs at junction locations. One alternate route that might not be in your GPS is Highway 89T. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. Good night.